Let me play another clip from the CBS News interview just released. Listen to this.
But he denies it. So if you believe U.S. intelligence agencies, is Putin lying to you?
I don't want to get into whether or not he's lying. I can only say that I do have confidence in our intelligence agencies as currently constituted. I think that Dan Coats is excellent. I think that Gina is excellent. I think we have excellent people in the agencies. And when they tell me something, it means a lot.
Coats says the threat is ongoing. Do you agree with that?
Well, I'd accept him. I mean, he's an expert. This is what he does. He's been doing a very good job. I have tremendous faith in Dan Coats. And if he says that, I would accept that. I will tell you, though, it better not be. It better not be.
Why would he refuse to say that Putin is lying? Because he now says in his latest comments that, yes, the Russians interfered in the U.S. election. Putin denies it, so he is lying.
Right, he is. And look, the short answer is with President Trump is he wants you to believe whatever he says at the moment in time. But if you listen to what he said right there, and I just wrote some things down, and he was directly asked about Dan Coats. Now, Dan Coats, very well-respected former senator, former ambassador to Germany, somebody who knows his way around Washington. He said, I have confidence in Dan Coats, but he later says, when addressed that, Dan Coats says that, in fact, Russia continues to do so. And Trump says, if he says that, no, Mr. President, he does say that, and he hasn't just said it to us, he has said it to you, and you are choosing not to listen to him. And the bottom line is, we don't know why. We don't know why that he is capitulating, that being Donald Trump, with Putin.
Can I ask a question? Hasn't the president looked at the intelligence? Can he make a judgment on his own? I mean, David Axelrod's worked for a president. You know, it's not just that your DNI comes in and says, we have evidence. I mean, if you're at all inquisitive, and this one would assume is important, you would be looking at this intelligence yourself, and you would be saying, I have seen the intelligence. I can tell you for a fact myself that they're still at it.
Sabrina, you want to weigh in?
Yes.
Well, I don't think there's any question. Do you think there's any question?
David, hold on one second. Sabrina, go ahead.
The fact that it's taken the president several days and several tries just to make a definitive statement on whether or not Moscow interfered in the U.S. election, I think that within of itself is telling with respect to how he has approached this issue. And, he has not listened to his intelligence leaders. DNI Coats earlier this year testified before Congress that Russia is actively trying to interfere in the upcoming midterm elections, that the intelligence authorities here expect that they will proliferate more fake news and propaganda, and that not enough is being done by this administration. At the same time, the president's then director of the National Security Agency said he had not been given authority by this president to disrupt the Russian cyber attacks at the source, and said clearly we are not doing enough. So if the president is in fact serious about this issue, and he is saying, well, it better not be true that they're trying once more, there are steps he can actually take to deter this from happening again, and he has yet to prove that he is willing to do that.
David, go ahead. You wanted to weigh in.
No, I was just going to say this wasn't, I mean, to your original question, Wolf, this isn't this is a binary choice. If you accept what the DNI is saying, then Putin lied to his face. Okay, and the president stood up there on Monday and he said he gave a strong and extremely powerful rebuttal. He lied to his face, and even now he won't say that he lied. What signal does this send the world? What signal does it send Putin? It's no wonder they're stepping up their efforts. He's basically opened up the back door.
You want to say something?
Well, no. I just think that just on the whole issue of the deep state, because this is what really is the 50,000-foot packaging that Donald Trump has put on all of Washington, D.C. Let me just tell everybody out there about the deep state in Washington, D.C. The bureaucracy in Washington, D.C. would never allow a deep state to work, let alone work effectively. And personal ambition in politics and in Washington, D.C. would never let it happen. It's impossible. So this idea, and I know it sounds good, and I know it's a good conspiracy theory thing to say over and over again, but it's wrong.
You know, Gloria, there was another exchange that the president had with Jeff Glor of CBS on whether or not he might be willing to sit down and answer questions from the special counsel, Robert Mueller. Listen.
I do want to ask you, sir, you said you'll sit with the special counsel before. Has anything changed in the past 6 months to change your mind about whether you're more or less likely to?
There's no collusion. I didn't deal with Russia. I have nothing to do with Russia with respect to my race. I won that race rather easily, and I can tell you that I think, frankly, 2020, I think it's going to be even better than we did in 16.
But would you say, are you more likely to sit for an interview now?
My lawyers are working on that. I've always wanted to do an interview because, look, there's been no collusion. There's been no talk of Russia. There's been no phone call. There's been nothing. And I call it a witch hunt. That's exactly what it is. It's a vicious witch hunt. And you know what? It's very bad for our country. Very, very bad for our country.
What do you think?
I think his lawyers don't want him to sit down with the special counsel. And I know from my own reporting that they're kind of at a standstill right now. The president has expressed an interest, in sitting down with the special counsel, but he sure seems a lot less interested in it today than he did maybe 6 months ago. and I don't think it's gonna happen. And I think, in fact, when you look at what happened in Helsinki, I'm wondering what'll happen with public opinion on the so-called witch hunt, because now the president has confirmed about election hacking, et cetera, et cetera. And I think his lawyers have a hard time answering the question when reporters ask, "Is there a witch hunt?" After you've heard the president in Helsinki, and you see indictments like one that came down today about a Russian spy.
He calls it a witch hunt often. He calls it a rigged witch hunt.
Yeah.
I haven't heard him call it, but he now says a vicious witch hunt.
Well,
so he's
there you
escalating
go.
his rhetoric a little bit.
If you were his lawyers, would you, having watched the last 3 days, said, "Yeah, why don't we let him sit down with a special counsel?"
Yeah.
If anything, the last 3 days should persuade them that there's no way in hell we're going to put him in that room.
I think they're already there, David. I think they're already there.
Day one.